40 seconds remaining. Although, draws on the Dragon Blade. Again, 2 kills with the dash.
한두 방에 못 맞추는 거는 결정타가 안 나오면
와, 근데 피치가 이것도 보시면은
Here on Shrine, now Gesture going to be taken down. It's a great counterplay from the London Spitfire. They push back over onto the point.
아, 근데 비트가 찍기가 그날 한명 퇴근해서 오! 지금 몇 검이에요? 5검!
근데 궁을 너무 많이 쓰긴 했어요.
Alrighty, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another day of the Overwatch League APAC action. I'm Ilios, joined by Wolf, and it's going to be a little bit different today. Wolf, we only have one match.
That's right. I'm excited to see this one play out, though. It's our only match of the evening. It's going to be the Seoul Dynasty against the London Spitfire, which is kind of unique of a matchup now. It used to be kind of like the old Korean rivalry between Lunatic Sakai and GC Busan, but fast forward 2 years, now you've got the ex-Lunatic Sakai players are gone. You've just got Toby left, but it's the London Spitfire players, the elites from previous years and the championship roster have moved into the London Spitfire, playing against their next generation.
Yeah, I will go ahead and take a look at that next generation here as we take a gander at the starting 6 for the London Spitfire, who have, as we've said, throughout their matches, throughout their history so far in the 2020 season, been pretty fluid overall with this roster. Today we're going to be having Shui and Babel in the DPS lineup alongside JMac, Bernard, Sanguinar, and Hailey.
Yeah, it's a pretty unique lineup to have Shui and Babel as the DPS lineup. You've got a very strong projectile player in Shui. Babel is, I think, a really strong Widowmaker player for this lineup. Has had his ups and downs on the McCree, but I personally really like his McCree. Bernard starting here on this lineup is kind of a permanent fixture. Sanguinar and Hailey bring up the support line, and JMac has kind of been in every time. So it's a different look, especially for the first map, to have Babel in this early. I hope he performs well.
Yeah, which, kind of just leads us to believe that this is, in fact, going to be a Widowmaker-centric map for the first one. So Ilios, Busan, those are going to be the two that really jump out at you when it comes down to control for Widowmaker. Likely just going to be planned for that. We'll see if he's going to stick through. Just kind of depends on what the rest of the map pool is going to end up being for this series. On the other side of the coin, though, we of course do have that previous generation, as you were talking about, Wolf, with the Seoul Dynasty. Lots of changes in this lineup throughout the years, obviously, but some more familiar faces day in and day out. One of the biggest changes, however, that we have here is it's going to be Marvel going in alongside 2U. Yeah,
so no gesture whatsoever. Kind of a strange starting lineup here. 2U definitely proved himself quite a bit on the Zarya and on the Sigma last week. Marvel has played quite a fair amount of Orisa over the years. So, we know he's not afraid to be put into the main tank role. We know Seoul Dynasty is no stranger of putting him into that role. But it is a little bit odd to see this lineup in particular. But Seoul Dynasty likes to change it up on the regular. So we'll see how this pans out. Prophet and Fitz being the DPS lineup, I think is going to give you a lot of flexibility in terms of what you can run. Prophet can run the Doomfist this week if that's something they want to run. Fitz on the McCree, very powerful, very potent hit scan player. Widowmaker as well. Back available this week for play, as you mentioned earlier when you were talking about Babel. Definitely a strong chance we'll be seeing Fitz on that hero. I think this could be a really close map of control based on the team's recent performances here in APAC, as well as the starting lamps they fielded. I think anything could happen here, really, on this first map.
Yeah, we kind of have to wait and see. Obviously, the hero pool coming in is a massive shift for the meta. 4 of the most meta picks that we had during the Countdown Cup stripped away. So no Tracer, no Genji, no Brigitte, no Zarya. So a lot of people have been, guessing about what the meta is going to be looking like coming into this week. I think it's going to be potentially a little bit chaotic. With Babel there, we can assume that Widowmaker is still going to be a pretty regularly occurring fixture. If not the Widowmaker, then the Ashe for DPS. We have to see what's going to be going alongside that and what people are going to be running in the front lines for their tanks. Marvel coming in, this could allude to perhaps a little bit more Reinhardt, maybe some Wrecking Ball for the side of the Seoul Dynasty. I already kind of see him flashing that right now, selecting and unselecting constantly.
Yeah, that's the the start here for the Seoul Dynasty, it looks like, in terms of potentially the tanks coming through. Rumor has it Sombra is still very meta in Asia right now, from rumorings of scrims and what teams are playing in general at the moment. So we'll see if that ends up coming true. I mean, I think whenever Sombra is available, as you can take a look at there's a snapshot of our banned heroes for this week and next week, our catch-up weeks before playoffs. I think Sombra is always going to have a place in Asia, unless you remove her ultimate or rework it entirely. Like, EMP is just too powerful. Bit's a great Sombra player. He's starting with it looks like here. Profit on the Pharah to start things off, and Seoul Dynasty's kind of got this Pharah dive-esque composition. Meanwhile, London putting Babel on the Widow on Ruins, which is not a surprise. Very great counter to the Pharah, at least at the early parts of the map. And, very different looks, very unique looks for these two teams.
Yeah, into the back, Fitz trying to get that assassination there on the Babel. Takes him low, but can't quite finish him off. Marvel's just waiting for that pack, now goes in to roll forward. Sees the supports, but Discord Orb comes through. And gets that mini pack to keep himself safe for the moment. Babel just going to be grappling up into the air. Gets a nice little body shot onto Prophet as he takes down Bernard from the skies. You can see, this is very chaotic. London Spitfire don't really know which way to look. Babel kind of personifying that, just constantly glancing around, flipping back and forth, not sure who to focus on. And they just get wiped. First lockdown comes in for this whole Dynasty.
It's a composition swap coming through now, too. The problem with the Widow versus the McCree is that if you focus on the Pharah, you're going to get mowed down by a Tracer in a Pharah Tracer comp, or you're going to get, a lot of pressure from the Sombra and the Sombra Pharah comp that we see, obviously, in this case, the Tracer being banned this week. The McCree is going to give you that extra flexibility against the Sombra who's trying to sneak up on you. And you actually have a lot more power against the Wrecking Ball that way as well. So I like this swap from London Spitfire after seeing the comp.
Really nice roll through here from Marvel, who's about to have Minefield online. Pilot Drive will go ahead and seal the deal for it, but Hack comes in, so he can't just drop it there on that walkway to try and shut down further approach of the London Spitfire. Now we'll go back in. Barrage comes out for Profit, manages to find Bernard, but J-Mac will finish him off. Trading one back, finds 2U, gets rid of the Diva, and suddenly, just like that, despite the engage coming into the Seoul Dynasty, it's looking pretty good at the start, they get shut down.
Yeah, and this is going to be a complete swap for Seoul as well. They're going to put Profit on, well, I say complete swap, but a massive change in terms of putting Profit in now on this, well, he was for a moment on the Echo, now he's going to Widowmaker, so a lot of changes. The Widow is strong against the McCree, so there's a little bit of rock, paper, scissors going on in terms of these comp swaps, because now Profit can outrange the McCree and limit his effectiveness here, and he's not going to be vulnerable to McCree on a flying hero like Pharah or the Echo.
Bernard just trying to mitigate as much damage as he can with that D-Matrix, which will now expire. Discord Orb's on him. Be alright for the moment, though. And Shui just waits. London looking for this defensive fight. We're going to have to use the EMP. Transcendence is going to be popped by Sanguinar. Rushes down onto the low ground. Keep his tanks alive. Marvel now going to be rolling through, but there's the EMP. Instantly gets destroyed. J-Mac finds a killing blow, and Babel just looks his own people back with this McCree. Really nice use of this little bunker that they have here with J-Mac just hugging down on that lower side, poking up the ramps when they need to, and otherwise just staying situated out of line of sight to Profit.
Yeah, the trance being used early in that fight guarantees the opening to go in their favor, but it's definitely something they're going to miss when Fitz engages with his own EMP. They're going to have Nano Boost for this next fight. This next fight for London Spitfire is going to be extremely difficult. Here's the EMP.
Yeah, EMP does come through, manages to find 2. Bionate connects to the 3 though, and seals the deal, taking down Shui. Finally, just again sitting in this spot, lobbing up these right clicks, trying to keep everybody topped up as best as possible. The Family Hammer comes in from Babel, manages to trade one back, tries to get the headshot there on the Fitz to finish him off. They can't quite do it. Meanwhile, back over towards the point. Fitz farming up for yet another EMP, trying to get the break there onto Benar's mech. Will finally be able to do so as Arez comes in onto Marvel to put the Wrecking Ball back into the fight. The Spitfire do force out that 99%, but Seoul Dynasty have the flip, they have control.
Yeah, they do, but they have to hold it without any losses, any interruption, or they're going to lose this first round. It's crazy, too, to see Hailey playing against his old teammates in Seoul as well. He was on their team last year. We didn't mention that earlier. We were talking about the legends of Profit and Gesture. Gesture nowhere to be found, but Ilios had his good moments here for sure. This is a race for EMP right now. It's probably going to be the biggest deciding ultimate. Nano out.
Yeah, just ripping through him. Hot knife through butter here for the Seoul Dynasty. And with 82% left on the board, the London Spitfire have to get their resets in right now. JMac cannot afford to die here. Will not. And Immortality Fuel is used, so that will now be on cooldown for the approach to the London Spitfire. Babel's going to be swapping over onto that Widowmaker to try to find a couple crucial picks. This EMP, though, is so dangerous for London's approach. They roll in, Hack comes through. Guard is absolutely destroyed. Didn't stand a chance. OG gonna start ticking down. Some risky EMPs online. Fitz gonna strike first. The counter comes in, however, from Shui. Manages to find 3, and Fitz is gonna be taken down, but now the turnaround comes in for the Seoul Dynasty. Instantly 2 people taken down by Prophet. Back-to-back headshots. Perez is in onto the Sombra, and that will be the effective team wipe coming in. Final tag for Bernard, but he's greeted with a hack. And they finish him off in a very close first round. Goes the way of Seoul Dynasty, 199%.
Yeah, Seoul Dynasty with total control of those neutral team fights. If it was ultless, you know, or very ult minimalist, which a lot of those fights were there at the end, where Seoul was actually, you know, taking these fights with only a nano boost, for example, they were taking the better fights. Their target priority was better. A lot of these nano boosts from Badoshan really sealing the deal. This is the one in particular around 70% or so. We see the nano boost come through onto the D.Va. And you can see TU actually rallies them into this choke point here and just cleans up house. He's got that extra damage mitigation. It's a kind of a unique choice, right? We haven't seen a lot of D.Va in the meta as of late.
Yeah.
But Badoshan's nano boost is extremely effective in winning a lot of these crucial team fights for Seoul Dynasty. And now London Spitfire are going to match that on the other side, actually highly coming in with the Ana, and they are going to be running their own Echo to challenge the Pharah in the sky.
Pushing their way through. Dynasty looking comfortable thus far. Hero pool. See how they manage for the rest of the series. Prophet falling low, nearly gets taken down. Does manage to stay alive, just trying to get that direct hit onto Sanguinar to finish off the Mercy, but can't quite find that. Roll through, though. Marvel looking for the reapproach yet again. We'll just roll back over towards the point. And Seoul Dynasty are able to get that first cap. Tank's taking a little bit too low. The Bio-nades saving some people off from the London Spitfire, so cannot contest. So early first cap here for Seoul Dynasty. Let's see how long they can hold it.
Fits with the wraparound here, and for any shot he can take. And so far, Seoul Dynasty, you know, in really comfortable position. There's the elimination on Shui, and compositionally, I really like what Seoul's doing here.
Landed that headshot would have been absolutely nasty from Fitz. Can't quite get that done. Shui coming back in after the res, gets some vengeance, takes on the pharmacy duo by himself. Fitz will be able to strike him down yet again. We will see Prophet up the Pharah, move over onto that Echo as well. Nanobu's going to be tossed out. TU just pushing forward, builds up that self-destruct, kites his way back to safety as Spitz finds yet another pick. And a pretty good shot on the JMac, really nicely done, but will fall, but it doesn't matter. Damage is very much done to the side of the London Spitfire.
Yeah, London Spitfire here, just trying to lick their wounds and regroup. They had the faster Echo pick, and now Shui obviously is going to have the faster Duplicate. It's probably only just now swapped, as you mentioned earlier. I think the Echo pick is a lot safer versus D.Va in particular, because D.Va shuts down a lot of Pharah's damage, and, you know, can't really mitigate the majority of what Echo is going to do in terms of that left click out. But the Duplicate being here faster for Shui means they need to make value of it right now with this EMP fight. They've only really got one chance at this, one shot at this. They cannot mess this up, or it's going to be 100-0. And look at this, no EMP, how he wants it.
Panic use on the EMP, are you joking? Babel, what was that? Only finds 2U. Maybe it won't matter because Shui starts putting the team on his back, manages to beat down Prophet. It needs a lot more than that. Self-destruct up over the top from TU's not going to be able to find anything. Now Marvel's going to be taken down at the hand of Bernard. Sticky bombs going through. They see how low Toby is and they manage to finish him off. Shui now just going to be holding on to this Duplicate, at least for the moment. Nanobu's going to be tossed out, does find the D.Va yet again. Well, Dynasty still trying to stay in this. Are doing decently to buy some time for themselves. Still contesting the point. London Spitfire now getting a little bit of space to themselves. With Marvel falling, that will be the retreat call. Man, yeah, so very close. It looks like Babel might have just tossed it all away with that EMP use.
Yeah, I mean, he was stuck. He didn't have a translocator. And so he thought, okay, I'm just going to EMP here. And the way he was standing, he might have thought he was going to clip to get 2 with that. But it was, you know, essentially a useless EMP. Fitz and Prophet building up most of their ultimates during that stall for the Seoul Dynasty. So even though they were at 99 max and they weren't going to take it back, they built a lot of those ults up. And now Fitz can engage with his own EMP to try to take this away. Prophet can duplicate in the longer fight. So this is a very winnable fight for Seoul as soon as they initiate with that crucial EMP. Just needs to be a big one.
Ocean taking down the back line, the pop out there as well on the 2U with the finish. Marvel's still playing harass right up in front. Prophet is there, manages to scoop multiple kills. Maybe Seoul Dynasty can make a winning fight out of this after all. The damage going in to try to send them back. The D.Va's going to be rubbed back into the mix here, so an advantage for the moment for the Seoul Dynasty. Up close and personal is Prophet and Sweep. It's going to be a duplicate used by Prophet. Mostly mitigating damage here for the moment, but D.Va on D.Va now for these Echoes. Prophet goes forward with the Rockets, manages to find the kill. The hack going to be coming through, so cannot use the self-destruct that he does build up. Might not matter though. Max takes down Badoshin. The self-destruct from Shui manages to find 2U, and suddenly the Spitfire are still in the fight. They are still winning. We cleans them up. It's looking really good for a while there for the Seoul Dynasty. Prophet popping off at the start, but they couldn't get the point locked down.
Yeah, they're unable to get the point, and I mean, the fight was scrappy for Seoul. I don't think Seoul needed to try to turn that fight the way they did. They had the res come through. Prophet's ready to duplicate. He duplicates Bernard, gets the D.Va. Fitz looks for that awkward EMP. But I think they could have regrouped and taken a perfect fight instead of a fight that was possibly winnable. And now they've only got a few ults left. They're going to use that nano, but Badoshin's already dead.
And trying to find Shui, does manage to finish him off, and you can see just zoning back Sanguinar, ensuring that he cannot go in for that res. Prophet will get him in the end with the headshot. 99% to 99, but here we go. The res on the 2U puts the D.Va back into the fight. J-Mac tries to delay with his Primal Rage. Bombs tossed out, looking to take Bernard low to get him down, but can't quite get that going yet. They push forward, however, and do manage to find J-Mac as Prophet nearly has that next duplicate online. Bombs will shove back Babel, who desperately needs an EMP on the line, but he's still 34% away from that. We'll see if he can build it up. We'll see if the London Spitfire can try and delay the Seoul Dynasty back in control of the point. Babel will fall, so now the EMP. There's a far cry hope for them. They need him to rejoin, but they just cannot get anybody on the point fast enough to keep the fight going. So Seoul Dynasty will just be able to close out Ilios here with a 2-0, but two very close rounds in the end.
Yeah, and the thing is, Seoul actually can feel very lucky that they were able to take that second round because they botched that team fight with the duplicate, the EMP, the res coming through. They botched it pretty hard when they had the ult advantage, and instead of regrouping and taking the follow-up fight. And in that last fight, too, we saw the nano boost come out from Badoshin. He died instantly, but then Prophet was able to secure several kills. And it's kind of unique, too, because Prophet actually was a very poor Echo player at the very beginning of Echo's release. But he had a great performance there. I mean, and like he had some up and downs after that. Like he wasn't always bad at Echo. He had some good moments and some bad moments. But he actually really carried that final moment and was able to pick up a multi-kill that turned the fight in favor of a Seoul Dynasty that was down on ultimates after that last botched engagement. So very fortunate for Seoul. By all rights, I think London should have won that second round. We should be going into a third round right now. But Prophet made sure that didn't happen. Great individual play.
Yeah. Well, really close start to this series, and that's what we want to see. We only have one match, so we want to make the best of it, and we want to make sure that it's going to be competitive and close and down to the wire. But it's looking like we very much could have that after Ilios. So we'll see what's going to happen. We'll see what our second map of this series is going to be when we come back from the break. So stay tuned, guys. We'll be back here in just a few minutes.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Groups. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are just one map into this series. Let's keep the action going between the London Spitfire and the Seoul Dynasty. A little bit of a false start from there from me. Not sure if it was heard, but either way, let's plow on, Wolf, shall we?
Yeah, we are working with a really cool new system starting today. So
yeah, it might be
have
some mistakes, like me walking off camera a little bit early, that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, actually, the system is a huge improvement for what we had before. So it might be a little bit buggy for us for the first few games or something like that, but it's going to be a better experience for you guys at home as well after we get it all ironed out. But yeah, a very scrappy first match, I think, is the best way to put it. A lot of back and forth. This meta is not really defined yet, because remember, everyone was playing literally the exact opposite of what's being run right now, just less than a week ago. So there's been, very little prep time for these teams to get ready for this new hero pool. So things aren't quite ironed out just yet. And I think we are going to see a lot of scrappy games like that because of it. Yeah. And for the first time, we actually get to see that Gesture is getting subbed in for Marvel on our screen at the right time when it comes up on screen for you guys. So we're not going to just suddenly tell you guys in game.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got Gesture coming in for Marvel. So probably moving away from that Wrecking Ball, I have to imagine.
Yeah, and we also have Glister coming in for somebody that I can't see because it's I have another window open and it's kind of blocking that right now.
It's Babel.
But okay, so Glister coming in for Babel. That's kind of what we would anticipate. And we also have Krillin subbing in. So there's an interesting little change up.
Yeah.
Seems like maybe London Spitfire wanting to run some Zenyatta.
And we had some Zanguinar on the previous map, but not a ton of it. Obviously, we had the swaps coming through later on. But yeah, Krillin definitely most known for his Zenyatta, and I believe the map is Eichenwalde, if I'm not mistaken, that we're heading to.
I think we'll probably have the map pull up in just a moment to find out. But right. I didn't quite get to see it, honestly. So, it's, stream setup, it's over on my right. Yeah. I don't want to constantly be glancing off screen, so.
It is Eichenwalde, so I was right. So this is the map where we're going to see, I think, the most diverse comps of the ones we have, right? You look at the setup, it's like Hanamura's after that, where, you kind of have to play a certain way. It's a very narrow 2 CP map. And then Gibraltar, very open for the most of the map. But this one, there's an open start, and then there's a drawbridge that's open. But then when you get into the castle itself, a lot of the composition changes. Sorry, excuse me, a bridge.
Sorry, I didn't mean to completely trip you up there.
Yeah, no, very good. It's not a drawbridge, but you know what I mean. There's this area here is quite open, yes. I didn't do that on purpose. I specifically didn't say drawbridge last week because you called me out on it, and then, you give me a few days off, and then suddenly here we are again. But I think. I would have thought, rather, that we would see one of these teams run a Pharah here based on what we saw on Ilios, because Pharah has been quite popular on A and Eichenwalde in the past. But from the looks of it, Seoul Dynasty wants to run Sombra Dive. We might even see a Doomfist here for Prophet instead of that Symmetra once the teleporter comes out. Wouldn't be shocked.
There's been some whisperings on the wind about the
no, it's Pharah. Okay, there we go.
Doomfist here in this map.
I like it.
But yeah, we'll
this is what I was
thinking. Pharah Sombra again.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking.
Can still be pretty good here, but have to be cautious of Glister on that Ashe. So got to take this, really long back approach around the side here to try to get a nice angle to try to avoid line of sight versus him until he gets some applied pressure from the front.
Yeah, Prophet is finding angles behind these barriers as well, where he's able to find the backline heroes and sort of chip them down. Gesture's traded here, so this is definitely going to favor London Spitfire in the long term. Unless Seoul Dynasty can get something else done. Prophet actually completely out of the fight for the moment, looking for that respawn kill here on Krillin. Not going to happen.
His damnedest. He's keeping him zoned back for the moment. You can see that Fitz is sprinting over there to try to find a kill onto him.
Ooh.
Waiting.
Hey there.
Krillin knows too, I
The
think.
prowl says hello, pops out, looking for the finish, and barely manages to get him. Krillin almost traded that back. Would have been a nice little shutdown there for him, but does get eliminated. Now the barrage is going to be ready. Can see Prophet trying to find an opportunity. Starts dropping down. The barrage comes out, but Mister will go ahead and finish him off. We'll see the res is going to be possibly ability that's all likely it's going to be guarded. Now the Amp Matrix tossed in. Gesture playing up front with an nano boost. Everybody zones back here into the hallway. Bernard will find one. The point has been capped. Seoul Dynasty now with just shy of 5 minutes in the time bank as they get ready to roll.
So that was actually pretty unique. While Gesture was gone, instead of trying to take the fight on the point, because they were both down, remember, right? Down Gesture, down Krillin. Instead of taking the fight on the point without a main tank, I really appreciate that they kept Krillin zone back, Prophet on the Pharah, kept him zone back, so he couldn't really get back to the fight, and then they went for that kill with Fitz, so just eliminated the Zenyatta for majority of the fight. Because he was gone so long, he doesn't have EMP, or rather doesn't have a trance for this EMP.
EMP does come out, manages to find 3. Immortality Field's going to be zonked up highly. Does keep Krillin alive. Knock off there from Gesture. She doesn't get there. It is really delayed fall off. Actually, at the end of it, now gets the corner in onto Krillin, pops him up into the air, finishes him off with a nice little zap, and the cart can keep gliding here for the Seoul Dynasty. This will give them quite a bit of distance to move up towards that. What did you call it? A blah 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 bridge?
Yeah, the blah 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 bridge. The blah 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 bridge over here. So Gesture's gonna take that Zumba spot over there, the high ground around the drawbridge entrance. It's a drawbridge half. Yeah, he has this choke, so look at how much energy he can get with his nano boost in the enclosed space there with the cleave damage. 43% gain here. But they did use the nano. Supercharger's out now to counteract this to break through.
Yeah, kind of just use the nano just to buy some time, almost like, an Amp Matrix. The London Spitfire just showing respect, not wanting to give that cleave damage over the Judge, trying to peel back. Cleave Dart connects, the bomb into the backside there, will take Bernard down. Little pick off, one less shield here, as J-Max is getting chewed apart at the moment. Krillin comes to his rescue, however, does have that Transcendence ready to go, but Ocean has not yet landed. A Bionate trying to shut down that healing, but as that Transcendence expires, Krillin will fall. The Immortality Field's going to be finished off, and Seoul Dynasty still continue to look good. EMP used by Fitz, and Nano Boost going to be used onto the Sombra as well. Only found Glister, didn't get a kill with it. This will still net them point B in the end. Gesture goes really deep, utilizing every last drop of that primal range.
They're not done yet either. They want to get this Orisa kill here onto J-Mac. They're going to get that, and that was actually pretty egregious ult misuse by London Spitfire. You know, they used everything there. Krillin Trance to try to buy more time when they were already down 2 members, and then we saw the commitment there on the Gravitic Flux, you know, and it was an unwinnable fight. They bought time, only a few seconds, and it didn't really amount to much. Krillin got caught, kind of split spawn there. Big mess for London Spitfire, and all they have now is the EMP, which can buy them some time here, but they could have had a lot more if they had just given up the point and let a few seconds of the clock go for free. Definitely not a good trade for them in the long term.
Yep. 3.5 minutes
Tree
now in the
spotted.
time bank. He tries to farm here into the front. Probably going to be taken down. Glister manages to find that. The EMP connects onto 3. Seoul Dynasty just pulling back, but Gesture in a really rough spot. Leaps out. There's a hack will come in onto 2U, so don't have this D-Matrix now. Start getting surrounded. Ulted back together. Grecian going to connect. Fitz is going to fall, but looks like Gesture and 2U will manage to make it out alive.
Yeah.
A little bit of damage coming in. Oh, man. Yeah, crucial
There's the
timing there.
D-Mac.
Managed to find 2U right at the end.
He's gonna get taken out. He did have that like escape angle to jump off the bridge there. So he gets the last part of the kill there, and London Spitfire do take back this really critical entrance to the castle. Where they have the choke controlled, they can kind of fan back around this corner. London Seoul Dynasty moves forward, and they might be able to get another EMP off here before Fitz is able to build his, and that will lead to an almost guaranteed team fight win, which might buy Krillin enough time for his own defense of Fitz's falling EMP. That's the biggest ultimate right now in the game for these 2 teams. Even timing. Here's the nano.
Primal Rage coming out, self-destruct, just to zone them back. So Leap will kill off Bernard. And for a little bit more, Sleep Dart hit onto J-Mac. As he goes lower and lower, but will just get pushed back into the spawn room. But that's still doing wonders here for the Seoul Dynasty as they approach the end of the line. on Eichenwalde. Twister going to fall. Shui playing around the park, facing the contest. EMP now comes through, manages to catch 3 members. Just falling low, the Discord doing wonders. The Shred is a V-bar, but cannot finish him off. Now Profit with a bomb thrown in. Manages to find Shui, the answering EMP comes out from Fitz. Does not find Krillin, however. The remainder of the team topped up for the moment, but cannot escape. Tries to go back into the spawn group, but does get finished off, as does Glister yet again, as they pursue forward. Now it's just a scramble here from the London Spitfire to try and drain as much time off of this time bank as humanly possible. They take Seoul Dynasty under a minute. Be absolutely wonderful for them in case of extra innings. Bionade goes in onto J-Mac. 2U chases forward, manages to find him, finishes off that wrecking ball. The staying power starts getting chipped away at here for the London Spitfire. Self-destruct now out, no way to block it, no way to stay alive. Renar will fall. Have to finish clearing off these 2 final members from the cart. It's just 0.04 meters left to go, so it seems like a matter of time. The hits come through onto J-Mac. They shove him back, and they do manage to finish with 1 minute and 8 seconds.
Yeah, not a terrible time bank by any means, but it definitely could have been much higher. It was a pretty effective stall there for London Spitfire. At the end of the day, the EMP that came out for Shui was not where he wanted it to be, but he still was able to get it off in time to buy that extra time and buy those extra team fights. Not entirely sure what this is, but it's like Primal he does in the choke, and the long fall. Why did it take him so long to fall? But probably just clipped the edge of the side there as he was slipping it, slowed it down. Yeah, there were a few team fights there for London Spitfire that definitely. They could have been a little bit more ult efficient on. They could have saved a lot of their ults and let B go a little bit faster to try to maintain ult efficiency. Because there were a lot of fights, too, that they barely lost inside the castle, where they could have won with an extra trance or an extra EMP or a faster EMP. And at the end of the day, you know, because they used those ults previously and lost fights and they weren't conservative with them, they missed a few tools. And it's still impressive that they were able to bring it down to 1 minute and 8, given the great start for the Seoul Dynasty, but gotta be careful about, you know, pulling off all those ults in, you know, 3v6 or 4v6 fights.
Was a valiant effort, but now need to be even stronger here for this attack, which is still gonna, okay, he's gonna move off of the Meg. Go back over onto this Sombra. Likely just going for some right clicks would be my guess, actually just spy checking with the Meg, because if he just happens to get a straight headshot, then okay, Sombra's gone.
Yeah.
We'll just be having the near mirror.
Yeah, no.
Actually, it's pretty damn different. It's just the DPS.
Yeah, no Pharah though. No sort of anti-double shield here, because Seoul Dynasty's not even running the double shield. They're running the gesture Winston here with the D.Va. 2U's D.Va's been pretty great so far, by the way. I've been very impressed.
Yeah, he's looked really clean. Actually looking a bit better than perhaps than his Zarya from what we had seen.
Yeah,
you know, limited sample size as this is as well, but the D.Va is chase potential getting on top of people to finish them off, especially on Krillin. Just making sure that he's right there next to that Zenyatta as soon as the Transcendence is over. It's been really good.
His playstyle reminds me of Fury. He's very much an aggressive D.Va player. He's not very passive. He's not a defensive player like Dako, for example. We talk about famous D.Vas and D.Va metas, but he's very, very good at killing those targets. Fitz gets taken out here in a Sombra trade, which means that London Spitfire have a huge opportunity now to take this point on this team fight. There's no threat of EMP. Nano's out.
Absolutely. Chase forward comes in from Gesture, tries to get that Primal Rage online. Saw how many members were built up, you know, stacked up in this room, so perhaps thought that he could get the Primal just off that cleave damage, but does not happen, so cannot stay alive. Fitz is going to be rejoining, does have the EMP faster than Shui despite getting picked off, and the turnaround starts coming through as soon as he re-arrives into the fight, takes down both of the tanks, and his Prophet will get both of the supports.
Yeah, really nice plays from Prophet to actually save Seoul Dynasty there. You're absolutely right. The reason why Gesture leapt in was because he thought with the cleave he would get the Primal. And if it was almost any other comp, you know, he probably would have. If it was an Ana, he might have got slept, but he might have still been able to get away. But with the Zenyatta there, you're going to get discorded. So that was a bit of a stretch to hope for that one. But now they survive. Now they have that EMP that they were missing in the last fight. And, I mean, they're pretty lucky with how little they had to use in order to hold on to this. Now they could be the aggressive defenders here and hit that EMP first.
Prophet eliminated. EMP comes out, manages to find 3. Fitz trying to stay alive. Managed to do so, so now has the counter EMP. Perhaps turn this around. The res comes through. Toby makes his way over to Prophet, who instantly strikes down highly. EMP comes in. Krillin does manage to time the trance quite well, but still not looking too great. Fitz jumps out, avoids the Bandit Hammer there off the back of that flashbang. Prophet will still be taken down, but Hawk is still draining. 1 minute and 5 seconds remaining for the London Spitfire. Have to win on this push.
Yeah, Seoul Dynasty looking like they want to get some chase kills here too with Gesture and 2U. A bit of an overextension from Gesture, even with the Nano coming through, so going to cost them big actually. Now they've got a Gravitic Flux London do. Yeah, I don't think Seoul can defend this. Just gonna give it up.
Get this done. 2U's now going to be dropping down, throws the self-destruct up into the air, looking for a pick-off, but doesn't manage to find one. Bionate onto Krillin. No follow-up damage to try and eliminate him. 97.1% now built here for the London Spitfire, who just need to point to themselves for a second. This will be theirs. Bionate goes out 1-3. The Emerald Fatality Field starts keeping them alive. Fucking pop 2U out of the mech. Prophet going to be eliminated. And it looks like finally London Spitfire will be able to break through. This gets the EMP online, but certainly will not commit it here. It's just going to be taken down by Shui in the end. So second lease online for the London Spitfire, 2.5 minutes added to the time bank for them.
Yeah,
really, really close, and they cannot afford to slack here on this street space.
They certainly cannot afford to get stalled out. And you know, I'm a little bit surprised Seoul Dynasty committed back for the recontest there. It didn't work, but they were able to force the Flux out of the London Spitfire and the App Matrix. You know, pretty negligible the second one of those two, but getting a Flux is pretty nice for Seoul Dynasty here. Is now they've kind of got full control over the ult economy with their EMP, and the Primal Gesture should be able to go deeper this time and actually survive. Here's the EMP start. They want the back line.
Yeah, managed to find Krillin getting rid of that shielding, so he is instantly taken down. Hiley and the rest of the squad do manage to fight for a little bit longer, but as I say, that Gesture with the Primal Rage will finish off Bernard, so even more time bought with that nice little stagger kill tacked onto the end.
Yeah, and with the kill onto Krillin that early, there's no Discord Orb, so we can go a little bit deeper before he does retreat. And Fitz is just going to try to threaten again this back line. He sees a translocator, so he can call a dive with Gesture and 2U. Make sure that he does not escape. So Gesture and 2U could be diving right now as we speak, but actually kills the translocator.
Oh my god! Loses it. Taken down as soon as he throws out the EMP, loses his life. Very nicely done. Good punish instantly coming out there from the members of the Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah, you can do it.
Familiar territory with about a minute remaining here.
You can do it both ways, right? You can kill a translocator first and call the diving, kill him, or you can dive him, have him translocate, and then he appears right in front of Fitz, who just shoots him in the head and gets the last, 15% of his health pulled down. It's not next to a health pack. He didn't have it on top of a hacked one. So, really nice scout there, and backline effort from Shui, and that's going to buy a ton of time, or excuse me, from Fitz. That's going to buy a ton of time for the Seoul Dynasty.
So Bob going to be tossed in off top of the ramparts there. The Matrix comes in. Bionate onto J-Mac. They'll take him down to about half HP. Cannot get the finish. The Bob and Fitz both going to be cleaned up here. This mark is still being contested. Gesture playing down on the low ground. Go ahead and exit. So a little bit of ground picked up here for the London Spitfire, but there's still so long to go before they can get to point B, and even then it's only going to be a minute and a half. So pretty much sealing the deal is the Seoul Dynasty having, guaranteeing at least a period of time that he is not this hold here on the bridge. Dive comes in, Bob lobs into the back, only going to be finding the Bongo so far as they look for a little bit more. The card's still advancing forward. Immortality Field buying some time for the members of the London Spitfire. Trying to get themselves across the bridge, but the EMP comes through. Krillin going to be caught, goes low. Tank line going to be broken down with 3 members remaining. It's looking like that will be it. Yes, it is. DOT bleeds away. No way to extend that fight further for the London Spitfire. They will be held there, and suddenly the Seoul Dynasty move up 2-0 in this series with a win on Eichenwalde.
Yeah, it was very impressive control of, what happened after A was very impressive control of that choke point, and really nice plays from Fitz. Like, Fitz actually being at the back to find Shui's translocator, as well as scouting if there were compositional changes, while also being able to threaten Krillin, for example, if we did see an aggressive play from the side of London Spitfire, if they were going to try to move forward. They didn't have a dive comp, so they couldn't have, Winston Diva Dove. It's been a while since we've seen D.Va, so I'm like trying to figure out how to cast her again. If they had a Winston D.Va, you know, if they dove forward, if they changed that, which they might have, he would have had the ability to threaten the backline. It's really smart when Sombras go back to the backline like that when they're unseen and no one's spy checking, because they can find translocators, they can see compositional changes on the fly, they can see positioning, they can see exactly where everyone's moving, where everyone's standing as they go through a choke like that, and convey that information to the dive on their team. The Winston D.Va in Seoul's case, which was used to help eliminate Shui and nullify his EMP. So really nice plays from Seoul Dynasty, really coordinated. 2U's D.Va looks really polished, and there are some issues with ult economy on the London side.
Yeah, some screws that are a little bit loose there need to be tightened up, and they're going to have to tighten them here during the game break. So a 2-0 start for the Seoul Dynasty, looking very dominant overall, at least in scoreline, and now we're just one map away from closing out the only series of the day. We were hoping this is going to be a little bit closer, so hopefully, given the time that they have during this, with this halftime coming up, Wolf, the London Spitfire can stabilize and bounce back and perform a little bit stronger, and try to get some maps on the board for themselves. We're going to go to a quick break, and when we come back, we will have our game break in crunch time, so stay tuned.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's now time for our game break presented by Pringles Wavy. And, I don't know. I mean, there's a bit to talk about here. Wolf, interesting. I think the most interesting thing so far about the series is kind of the comps that we've been seeing so far.
Yeah, we're seeing D.Va again, which is pretty cool, especially because 2U is really good at D.Va. And I think we're going to see a lot of strong D.Va players emerge in Asia if this becomes kind of the standard for the compositions this week. Like Void, for example, probably most famous for his D.Va, and we haven't really seen that all season long. It's been mostly Sigma from him. So we're going to see some Korean legends re-emerge and reappear, not only in APAC, but also in NA, if this ends up being the meta there too, because there's so many Korean
you got Fury over there, of course. We'd love to get his hands back on the D.Va.
So, I mean, that's been kind of fun. I've been enjoying seeing D.Va, Winston back in the meta. I was a little bit disappointed about this hero pool, to be honest, because I really liked the meta we had, and it was starting to get figured out and solidified. And then I don't know who decided the hero pool or how it was decided this week, but it was very much like see that one over there, that meta, that one is just not allowed at all anymore. Like no Genji, no Zarya, no Brigitte, no, and Tracer, you had that sometimes? No, it's over.
Yeah. I think that everybody, if you're watching, it's like, Brigitte, yay, it's gone. And then everything else is just like, oh, no. The fun stuff, or, the really crazy, chaotic mix of characters that just makes everything absolutely insane. They're gone. But let's go ahead and jump into our Crunch Time Wolf, presented by Pringles Wavy. What would you like to talk about today?
I think we got to talk about London Spitfire's ult usage. There's definitely been some questionable moments in terms of how the ults are coming out when these fights are really close. We've seen some scrappy EMPs, not only from Babel in the first map, but we saw one from Shui as well on the second map where he was utilizing it while in a bad spot, while under a lot of pressure. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's better to die and try to rejoin the fight, especially when it's not one of those moments where the map ends. Like if it's a 99% versus 99% fight, yeah, you've got to EMP because you're probably not going to get another chance. If, they're about to close the map out, you've got to hit that ultimate. You might not get another chance. But if it's, in the middle of the streets phase, you're the second one who's about to die, and you're going to use the EMP and then die anyways, you won't have any follow-up damage. Got to be careful about doing that. You got to be careful about trying to trance back onto the point. We saw that from Krillin on Eichenwalde there. You trance back to the point to try to elongate that fight. Then we saw Gravitic Flux come out. A lot of ultimates used unnecessarily for London Spitfire, which is not something that I've noticed from them in previous weeks of play. So maybe it's because they've changed the lineup a little bit and they're running multiple different rosters today, and it's a new meta that hasn't been fully developed or explored yet. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but ult economy-wise, Seoul Dynasty is using their ultimates extremely impactfully. We're seeing Nano Boost onto Gesture to try to lead into Primal Rages. Yeah, there were 2 mess-ups there as well, but overall, the Nano Boost we're seeing from Badoshan onto either Gesture or Tuyu are leading to extra kills and choke points. We're seeing fast Primal Rage builds. We're seeing Translocator kills into collapses on enemy Sombras. We're seeing a lot of really coordinated technical plays on the side of Seoul Dynasty. And on the side of the London Spitfire, each player individually looks quite strong, but as a whole, their ults aren't working together as well. And it feels like the playstyle is not as rigid. It feels very free flow, and that can be good with a lot of really high mechanical rosters, but against how Seoul's playing today in a new meta, I don't know if you can really freestyle it because it's not working out.
Yeah, it's been a really good look so far for the Seoul Dynasty. I mean, Jester especially coming back in, both he and Marvel performing really well so far in the maps that they have been fielded. We'll see if there's going to be any further changes for either of these teams when we do come back. That's going to do it for our game break and for our Crunch Time presented by Pringles Wavy. So when we return, guys, we'll have the rest of this series. See if Seoul Dynasty is just going to be able to take this with a 3-0 very cleanly. Or if the London Spitfire can start to bounce back, need to pull off a reverse sweep if they want to find a victory here today. So a lot of pressure stacked up against this younger squad. We'll see if they can do it when we come back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor.
Three words I'd use to describe the third season of the Overwatch League? What a journey! Despite the distance, the Overwatch League has brought us together all around the world. Great things come in threes, and the 3 words on everybody's mind: most valuable player. These are your 10 Overwatch League MVP finalists, presented by T-Mobile. Alarm!
What is happening? Team kill comes through. Just wipe the floor with him.
Carpe.
Carpe comes out on top. The superstar player.
Choi Hyobin.
When he's on the map, nothing is impossible. Choi Hyobin, though, that's a big one.
Violet. He's a god. He's a god. Yeah. Violet is actually a god. Krong.
Krong. That's bonkers. That's clutch with consistency.
Eileen.
Eileen coming alive with the charge. Need it most. Eileen goes crazy in the back.
Fletter.
The headshot. What? At the headshot. At the headshot. Fletter, are you kidding me?
Void.
Void turns up the heat. That is filth.
Exy.
Exy finds a ping. Exy finds 2. What a turn of events.
Yaki.
Yaki has just been an absolute machine.
The end of this season's journey is in sight, with players from every team battling for honor and glory, striving for greatness. We've seen stars rise to new heights, unbelievable upsets, and the promise of victory teetering on the edge of a blade. 10 players have been deemed worthy, but only one can be chosen. The T-Mobile MVP is about more than just bragging rights. This season, T-Mobile put $100,000 on the line. The winner will be determined by you, the fans, along with Overwatch League casters, teams, and the media. T-Mobile wants you to vote for your MVP on Twitter by using the hashtag OWLMVP and tag your favorite player by their Twitter handle or in-game tag. You can also cast your vote by going to overwatchleague.com/MVP. Voting ends on August 28th. Cast your vote today. Answer the call and help decide which Overwatch League player will have their name etched into eternity. Which player will win the T-Mobile $100,000 MVP prize? Who will be your T-Mobile MVP?
The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the rest of this series, the only series of the day. London Spitfire versus the Seoul Dynasty, who are currently leading 2-0. This is very dangerous territory if you're a Seoul Dynasty fan. You want to get excited about them getting a sweep coming through in this series. You want them to just start off strong here as we get ready to go towards the playoffs. But you're not sure if you're strapped into a roller coaster yet.
You don't
know.
know.
We're going to find out after this next match.
I wasn't sure if you were going to touch on it or not, but it does feel like, you know, right now up 2-0, 2-0 dominant wins. You've got 2U playing D.Va for the first. There's always, every time Seoul's up 2-0, there's always like this weird asterisk where it's like, well, also like this guy's popping off. Like Prophet's having his best Genji game ever, or like look at 2U over there. I mean, that looks pretty good. But then you have to remember that you're like starting to you're like, well, some of those nano boosts on Gesture were a little bit too late, or You know, Jester, he did feed a little bit there on Eichenwalde. You know, he died before he had Primal a few times. There were some question marks. You're like, uh-oh, is this the reverse sweep? Then, like, Babel gets subbed back in. No, it's actually Fuse subbing in for Krillin. But you know, you never know. Babel subs back in. It's like, uh-oh, that's what normally happens. And then suddenly Seoul just loses some momentum and then falls apart. And they lose the third map, and you think, well, it's just the third map. Like, it's okay. It was a close third map. And then the fourth map they lose. Then you go back to Control, and you're like, well, Control was the closest of the maps they won. And then, oh, Babel is actually getting subbed in.
Yeah, he is. So, all right. So Babel back in for Glister. Didn't quite get to see what the map set is here for map number 3. But seems like some more Widowmaker. Or maybe, maybe he's going to go for the Ashe, the McCree. We did get to see a little bit of McCree from Babel in that first map.
It's Hanamura, I believe, the
so
map.
there's an opportunity for that. Say again?
I think the map is Hanamura.
Hanamura, okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, we get some Widowmaker there from time to time, so it is, in fact, Hanamura. You were correct, as we do have the map set up on screen now. And just for the sake of my memory, Gibraltar and Oasis, if we are indeed strapped to this roller coaster ride, that is the Seoul Dynasty's regular season matches. We're going to find out here. It has to start right now for the London Spitfire if they want to turn things around. So Hanamura could be the staging ground to try and set up for a potential reverse sweep.
I am really curious to see how Babel is used here, because, I mean, so far what we see from him in the lock-in is the Ashe, and that's what you'd expect to see, given the meta, or at least what the glimpse of the meta what we've seen so far on the first day here of this new hero pool. But it's not that Glister can't play the Ashe, and in fact I think Babel shines most on his Widow and his McCree. His Ashe is not bad by any means, but it's not, you know, leaps and bounds better than Glister. So a bit of a curious swap. We'll see what he does on attack. Shvee wants to run the Echo here, so on the defense you don't get the opportunity to change and say, well, I don't want to do that anymore. You're kind of locked into this comp. It can be very risky. Sometimes Echo does not come online unless the teamfight win is a stop, where she gets her passive extra damage on her beam, focusing beam below 50%, and when she gets her duplicate ultimate, which is one of the best parts about her kit. So it's a risky choice. We'll see if this pays off for Seoul Dynasty. Now they're just going to swap once they see this. They're like, okay, go ahead and pull the Ashe out. And gonna run the dive here. Sombra, Winston, D.Va. So more of the same.
Yep, just going back to what has been working so far. And a collective sigh of relief was shared by all Seoul Dynasty fans. So back over to this. Shvee just going to be trying to keep everybody out. Ooh, a good amount of damage in with those sticky bombs. Already going to be a third of the way towards that duplicate. Which could be pretty impactful. We'll see if he's going to go for the D.Va or the Winston the next time around. Tank line for now, working their way into the back, start poking their heads out. They're pretty much covered from each and every angle. Back over towards the gate though. They look at the collapse of the J-Mac, and Prophet will have the shot to finish him off as he tries to retreat back to safety with the rest of his team.
Yeah, it's actually a really nice catch.
Yeah, really slow pace though. Dynasty not looking to overcommit here.
His body,
they don't give enough time. J-Mac is going to be able to rejoin by now.
Yeah, his body was left in weird res. You want to use res on this anyways, you can help it. Look at this dive. This is the nano onto Gesture. There's a sleep.
Yep, it's going to be shut down. Good sleep dart there from Hailey, who nearly has a nano of his own. Babel falling low, Shvee as well. Nearly eliminated, but does manage to find a kill on a Prophet. Getting rid of him. J-Mac joins in the fight, manages to find Toby, gets rid of an Ocean as well. So now without any support, it's Seoul Dynasty, like they're trying to farm a little bit more ult charge here, but will get taken down. The res is going to come through. They make their way up above 2 ticks, so we're not going to be starting from scratch, very far from it. But do get staved off. Half their time bank now going to be drained.
They do not have any way to mitigate this EMP, though, that Fitz is holding at the moment. He's going to try to find an angle here, possibly just onto Winston alone. I mean, that's the most important one for him, is to make sure there's no Primal. He doesn't have Primal yet, but here comes, does hit J-Mac.
And just get him, they push forward to finish him off. A follow-up hack there onto Shvee, making sure that he cannot try to use that duplicate, swap over to something, like the Winston to buy some extra time. And this will lead to the cap here for the Seoul Dynasty, but it's a fair few ultimates that they do have to use, so the snowball potential severely limited, barring disaster from the side of the London Spitfire.
Exactly. London Spitfire should be able to hold this next push pretty easily. It's going to be another eco push to try to set up for that EMP efficiency lead. I think that London Spitfire will have to swap Shui onto the Sombra after the duplicate, and they'll probably just dupe in this fight. We'll see how they decide to use it, but they're doing themselves a big disservice just giving Seoul Dynasty that EMP edge. Running the Echo here, where Echo doesn't have a lot of space to work with. You can see where he is on the left side there. He doesn't have an angle to do damage. He's actually kind of trapped on the outside at the moment because of Prophet's Ash.
Goes back here onto the high ground.
Look at how much damage he's actually has to do.
Duplicate going to be coming through. Does go for Gesture, so Winston's out, looking to build up more of that primal range. These multiple low HP members. Trying to get that ult online, but doesn't get slept. A great sleep start there from Badoshin. Likely shutting down the rest of that duplicate. Yeah, as soon as he gets a primal rage, we'll go ahead and lose it. It's taken out. So you getting pocketed back up slowly and steadily as Gesture moves forward with an nano boost, trying to keep people off the point. First tick going to be coming through for the Seoul Dynasty as they move their way up towards the second. Toby won't fall, so now no res in the fight for Prophet. Strikes down Shui, getting rid of the aerial threat. Damage going out on the J-Mac as he barely manages to stay alive. The pocket healing coming out from Fuse keeps him in the fight of the bobble. Straight down Gesture as he tries to exit to safety. So again, similar to what we saw on point A, 77.7% picked up for the Seoul Dynasty.
They didn't win the slots though with that 777. Fitz EMP there was actually I think it was a pretty good setup to try to use it. Can't fault him for that. But because they don't capitalize on it, this is a great window back into the game for London Spitfire. They're going to keep Shui on the Echo. I find that really strange because Prophet's not even really known for his hit scan play or his Ash play at all. But look at how much he can zone out the Mercy away from the Echo. We saw how little Shui was able to get done. Look at this.
Yeah, Dynamite goes through. A little bit of extra help was found. They managed to finish him off. Bob now out on the point, getting protected by that bubble, so no chance on a sleep dart going through from Hiley. And that will just be the cap with 2 minutes and 16 seconds remaining. Very nicely done by the Seoul Dynasty.
You know, it makes me feel like this is a hero pool problem of some sort. I don't like the Echo in this on B at all. I think it's okay if you're going to run the duplicate in the first defense fight because it's very powerful. He got slept, sure, whatever. You know, he didn't get much out of that primal. He saved himself. And then he went back, he escaped, and he stayed on the Echo, where he was zoned out. And you could see that after that first skirmish, he had only built up about 30% of his ultimate, and that's, a good indicator for you guys at home. If you're wondering how much damage has someone done, like, is this person doing a lot of damage, if you track their ult percentage, that's usually a good indication of how much damage or healing, in a support's case, someone is doing. You could see he didn't do a lot of damage there, and he was constantly zoned out. Then you saw Fuse get zoned out by Prophet on the Ash, and the Prophet picks up the Dynamite kill, and Shui's just killed there. They swap Babel onto the Sombra, so they're at least accounting for the ult game, but it just never mattered because Shui just couldn't find impact in that area of B where, the B's topography, the high and low ground of it, doesn't really allow you much space to work with. That's why you very rarely see Pharah on B of this map, even when Pharah's meta. And part of why I don't think Echo should have been used there is a great swap by Seoul Dynasty to shut it down, putting Prophet on the Ash. They're going to run it on attack here on A. I think this is a lot more reasonable because there's a lot more flying room for the Echo to find value and to, go behind this double barrier, so they are, good in terms of composition. They can see Seoul Dynasty's running this. Seoul Dynasty can't swap to counter this. So this is a good start for London this time with the Echo. And they have that Sombra too for the kind of ult tempo swing. Prophet's going to have Blizzard similarly, but I think the EMP should be more impactful overall.
Look at the farm out. Still feeling good about the Echo. Shui sticks with it.
See, Fitz can't zone him out this time the same way. Yeah.
Already a dink there on the Babel's going to be forcing him back as he looks for the follow-up shots on the Shui. Can't finish him off, but doesn't matter because J-Mac will be eliminated. So it's about an instant, 15 seconds gained there.
I think Babel is going to have to play. He's going to have to play more aggressively if he wants to make the Sombra work. He can't play this passively. or he's just simply not going to build the EMPs as quickly as he needs to. Remember, Seoul Dynasty has a 2-minute 16 time bank on the double cap. It's not just a finish of the map, it's actually a significant time bank. So you really got to be thinking about that time right now if you're London Spitfire down 0-2 in the series. I mean, look, he's done no damage since I've even started talking about it. None. He's not gotten any
He's just been
backlight.
passively generating.
Yeah.
Finally starts getting a little bit of extra damage in, but it's still just such a slow pace. You look at the, you know, the Sombra Great's Lip here in the league, and Lip would be lapping him at the moment.
Yeah, Lip would have EMP'd already. Okay, now he's done a little bit more. They're going to commit to build that last part.
Used on the J-Mac as he dives in. The Discord Orb does go through, but the damage mitigation is going to help him have some longevity here in the fight. Goes up onto the high ground to get topped up. Playing this one out patiently, but time still dwindling. Now down to 2 minutes on the London Spitfire, so I have the time bank to be gone. Barriers coming through, Immortality Field's going to be used to go ahead and keep their resting member alive. Profit bionated. Be okay. Still does have that ice block still ready to go. Comes up, manages to find Highly. Takes him down. The Bob going to be tossed in by Fitz. EMP comes out from battle. Those manage to find 2. Ishwi shifts over, goes for the Sigma. Knock off the side of the map. Will find a nice kill there on the Toby. Ishwi will steal away the kill credit in the end, but it's a fantastic cleanup on the back end. And we'll go ahead and get this cap, but again, limited ultimates for this next approach. There's a blizzard, there's a transcendence, a flux about to be there for this whole dynasty. So London Spitfire might be getting the cap here on point A, but they need to have some eco pushes here to build up these ults now.
Exactly, and there's a lot of things that we need to talk about. Like the ults being gone is one thing, but Seoul Dynasty let the point go before Pedosian had Trance, before Prophet could get into a position to use a good Blizzard. So Seoul Dynasty has huge ult advantage, and for the same reasons why Shri struggled on the defense to find damage because he was zoned out and pushed away from the point itself. On the attack, you have to enter small choke points, and then every single choke point he tries to enter, Fitz will have line of sight, so it's going to be difficult to get value with the Echo here on B on attack as well as it was on defense. In fact, arguably harder. You can see him trying to left click through at very far range to build up that duplicate. But well, Dynasty can just play passively here and be efficient with their ults.
Yeah, the Flux coming in now to you, looking to shut down the push as the Nano Boost was thrown in onto J-Mac. The Focus Fire looking pretty good. It will manage to find him again as he tries to leap back to safety. Valkyrie out for Fuse as well as they play way into the back of the point over towards the spawn rooms. See Fuse trying to dip and dodge as best as humanly possible. Prophet does manage to find him in the end. That'll be the cleanup here. It's going to have to be a reset for the London Spitfire.
Yeah, by the way, I should point out that, you know, if you look at the supports for Seoul Dynasty, they're running the Zen. It makes it a lot harder to dive. I think London might be trapped on this Echo comp, not because Shri wants to run her, because that was a coaching decision, but beyond that, based on the player pool they have, Fuse is not capable of playing anything besides Lucio and the Mercy. He's played a little bit of Moira, but he does not have Zen or Matisse in his hero pool, so they can't really swap away from this. They're kind of stuck on it.
Yep. Shui just going to get picked off to go in for the res. Do manage to find it. Fuse doesn't get punished, but Bernard loses out of the mech, so might as well be a kill here in the end. Now has to try to pistol his way back up to that in double barrier. But actually, despite that, he gets the mech back very quickly.
Yeah, that's actually very impressive. He's got a bomb here too. If they wait for this EMP fight, I mean, sure, they're already going to have the worst time bank, but they might get a finish here if the EMP fight is in their favor. But look at Seoul Dynasty, 6 ults online here, including the Trance. The Trance alone can shut down the EMP. The London Spitfire needs to get a pick somehow. They need to make something happen. I mean, maybe a Primal, knock somebody off the side or zone somebody out, force the Trance early. They've got to make something happen. If they just walk in with the EMP, Seoul Dynasty has all the tools to shut it down.
Gotta wall them off. Jump up here onto the high ground, and Toby will be taken down after the Immortality Field falls. Now the Supercharger going to be gone as well. We gets the duplicate here on the Gesture, looking to build up for that Bongo. Throw it down on the point. Falls low, though. Will lose out on that duplicate. Nowhere to go. Fitz cuts him down. First tick still not going to be picked up as Bernard gets frozen, knocked out of the mech yet again. A Sleep Dart connects on the 2U, but there's just no way for the London Spitfire to capitalize on that Sigma. Even if they could kill him,
yeah,
it would still be at a disadvantage over on the point.
They traded some ultimates, but the problem is that now London Spitfire, they have only one team fight left. Trance is still up, so that's the biggest one that you didn't get there. I like the idea of killing Toby. It was smart. but they didn't do it well enough. They weren't efficient enough. Now, if Babel is unscouted here, because look, there's spy checks going on for Badoshin. If he actually gets a hack on Badoshin, this is absolutely winnable. But that's a big if. Still unseen.
Oh, look at the wall off. They managed to cut J-Mac away from the rest of the team. Now the Blizzard going to be thrown down. Doesn't freeze anybody. Does cause the London Spitfire to pull back. Now with 33 seconds left to go, they have to cap, but it's got to be with time, otherwise they're going to be playing for the draw, but it just seems so very unlikely. And a boost out, they're on the point. First tick getting ready to come through. Finally going to be contested though on the side of the Seoul Dynasty as Highly does fall. Gesture finishing him off with a headshot. 2U wrapping around the back, goes to Gesture's aid, offering up some barriers to try to keep protected. The accretion will finish off J-Mac, and Bernard is going to be knocked out of the mech yet again. 7 seconds remaining, Babel on point, going to have to be the one to touch. Does have the EMP, but the likelihood of winning a follow-up fight not looking great for them. They force the OT here. So holds on to that as Highly comes back in with a Lucio, but they just wipe the floor with them. The EMP will never be used, and the Seoul Dynasty fans can breathe a sigh of relief. A 3-0 comes out from them in dominant fashion over the London Spitfire. No maps given up, no chances offered for London to pull off a reverse sweep.
Yeah, there was, if we watched a lot of that last team fight, we saw Bernard, trying his best to zone out the members of the Seoul Dynasty so that we could see that big EMP go off. You could see also this tracking, this constant, almost like shark with the fin out of the water coming up for the Sombra that we saw coming in for Babel, where he was trying to find that hack onto Badoshin no matter what. He was like, I will not EMP unless Badoshin is hacked. You could see him waiting for the perfect moment. Badoshin was always spy checking, so he was waiting. He was looking for, you could see he looked like he wanted to right-click hack, and then he decided not to. He didn't want to reveal himself. And then there was a moment where he almost solo EMP'd Badoshin. Like, he translocated behind Badoshin. And then he was like, well, I could solo EMP him and kill him, but then do we win the fight? I'm not sure. So he didn't do that because he was like, well, I'm only going to EMP him. And he waited so long. And even though they were up one member, it was a 6v5 fight. Seoul Dynasty has spawn advantage. Everybody comes back through. Gesture plows to the front line of the London Spitfire. They end up losing 2 or 3 members before Babel. Before Babel can actually even utilize the EMP in an effective way. And they just looked for a perfect fight for too long, and Seoul Dynasty just ends up winning it. So very one-sided 3-0 here for Seoul Dynasty. Really nice plays from them, and a bit refreshing after a few unfortunate losses as of late.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a good, this is a moment to feel proud about if you're a Seoul Dynasty fan. This was, very much one-sided by, the end. The first map, extremely close between them, but, hybrid assault, just absolutely fully in the pockets of the Seoul Dynasty. London Spitfire have been trending downward as of late, so I don't think this is necessarily an overjoyous moment for the Seoul Dynasty fans. Need to pick up some wins versus some of the tougher teams here in the league, but this is a very good start for them when they have a super condensed weekend. I believe they have 3 matches, one each day this weekend. So if they can keep putting up consistent performances like we just saw from them here, then they absolutely stand a chance against their opponents here. But good start for them. Let's go ahead and talk about our player of the match, though, presented by Xfinity. It's one that we haven't seen in a while. Wolf, it's going to be Fitz.
Yeah, Fitz had a really nice series. He really did. Across multiple heroes, too. He started things off with Widowmaker on Ilios, and we saw some really succinct Widowmaker play from him where, he was high impact when he needed to be. Has played the Sombra, as we saw on Eichenwalde. And he showcased what a strong hit scan player who has a big wheelhouse of heroes can do. And he was consistent throughout the series. He outplayed Babel. He outplayed Glister when Glister was in. And he ended up being, I think, one of the biggest players just in terms of impactful kills throughout these 3 maps, where he was able to take a lot of these fights and turn them. And if you remember Ilios, there were a few fights too where Prophet was able to do the same thing, where things looked dire, Seoul Dynasty were down ultimate, Prophet turned things around. But Fitz had a pretty consistent series overall. And, you mentioned something I think that's a really good point to point out for Seoul Dynasty. They have this condensed weekend. If they can keep up this performance, then it's going to be great for them, right? Especially for the Seoul fans who've been so starved for wins like this. I think it's a double-edged sword. Be careful, Seoul Dynasty fans, because right now you're thinking 3-0 against London. That's a good start. Yeah. And you're like, okay, but it is London, so let's be careful. But at the same time, you got to think about they have a good understanding of the meta, maybe faster than everybody else. So maybe in their second match, they continue to have that better understanding. They go well, but as everyone else catches up, can they keep up? And when they face tougher opponents, and they'll face London the second time as well. Will that remain true? Like, I think the biggest temperature gauge of that is going to be the rematch against London Spitfire. We'll see later on. So, let's not get too excited. Let's temper our expectations. But I liked what we saw today. Really appreciated Seoul Dynasty's preparation.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I think that the cohesion was very much there for the Seoul Dynasty, and I think that's the biggest boon. That's the biggest takeaway, and why you can have some hope for them here in the rest of this stretch before the playoffs to get some wins on the board. Because today they look like they were playing like a unit when they were diving into the back line. Oftentimes it was accompanied by multiple members to ensure that they were getting kills, and it was really good, clean play overall from the Seoul Dynasty. So that's something to look forward to and see them expand upon as things continue to move forward, as we continue to see some more shifts potentially in the meta here with the limited hero pool that we do have for the coming weeks. But guys, that's it. That's the end of the show that we had today. I know I think some people were a little bit blindsided, didn't know there was going to be a match. Make sure you check it out on the Overwatch League app on your phone, or go to the website as well. Because our app is there. It hasn't been taken off the Android or the iOS store. So you can check the schedule and make sure that you're staying up to date here with the Overwatch League, and tune in for the matches in NA. That's going to be coming up at 11:30 Pacific time for the Watchpoint pre-show. So make sure you guys set your alarms, get up nice and early, or stay up late. I'm not your mother. You can do whatever you want and check out those games. We'll see you guys for more APAC action tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.